Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Mortician's Tale. A quick word of warning, this game focuses quite heavily on death, which means it broaches on some sensitive subjects, and if you are, well, sensitive to such things, that maybe you shouldn't watch this. But personally, I think it's a nice little story, and we're going to spend a little bit of time having a look what it's like to be a mortician. September 14th, 10:15. So this is us. We can move around, we can interact with things, but the first thing it wants us to do is go to our computer. The music is fantastic. And here's some emails. From Matthew Jeffrey to Charlie. So Charlie is us. Welcome, Charlie. Nice to meet you. My name's Matthew, and I'm mainly going to be the man who delivers the bodies to you and helps with some of the more heavy lifting. Ever hear that joke about the hearse driver? I'll tell it to you when I come by in a bit. Looking forward to working together. I think you'll enjoy working here. Amy is a sweetheart, but she runs a tight ship. Nothing you can't handle, I'm sure. We wouldn't have hired you otherwise. Cheers and good luck. Matthew J., funeral director. Here's an email from Amy Rose, so she's the head of the place, I guess? Yeah, founder and director, that makes sense. To everyone. Hello everyone, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our new funeral director, Charlotte. Or Charlie, as she's told me she likes to be referred to. Charlie is a recent graduate who came highly recommended and is eager to begin her career here with us at Rose and Daughter's funeral home. Please take the time to make Charlie feel at home within our little family. We'll have a nice catered lunch this afternoon so we can all get to know each other a little better as well. Sincerely, Amy Rose. Okay. Now another email from Amy Rose directly to us. Hello, Charlie. Well, you're new here, so it's probably best I explain where everything is. In your office preparation room, you'll find your cremation station, cremulator station, embalming station, and obviously, since you're reading this email, your desk and computer area. I know you have experience working with these stations, but please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, Jen Love to us. This has got to be the best friend, right? Huh, I guess my subject lines to you should start being more professional now. Now that we are business professionals. I can't wait to get your reply so I can see your fancy new email signature. I love that you were able to land this gig straight after graduating. It sounds super cool. Didn't even know mom and pop funeral homes were a thing until now. Guess it's just not something I really think that much about. I should look more into this, learn more about your world and industry, because as I said, you are now a very serious professional. Speaking of being a professional, my museum gig is amazing. I can't believe somebody paid me to move to London. And not London on, serial killer capital of Canada, to the work in a museum. Like, take that everyone who said I couldn't get a job with an art history degree. I'll tell you more about it when we Skype. My stories require you to see my face and that you hear my excellent British accent impersonation. Oh dear. Also, I signed you up for a funerals monthly newsletter. Consider it your graduation gift. I love you, I'm super proud of you, gift. Love you, love you, love you, Jen L. We'll skip over today's tasks and we'll go to Funerals Monthly. Thanks for subscribing. Each month we bring you a new newsletter featuring topic pertaining to the death industry. This month is all about good etiquette for attending a funeral. I really can't believe we have to write this one, but since we said we'll answer your most popular questions, here we are, because this is definitely one of the most popular questions. Funerals are a hard time, and we understand that. But here are some quick and easy rules to remember for being respectful at a funeral. Generally, following the guidelines, don't be a jerk, should work. Don't be on your cell phone. We understand you're busy, but this is a time and a place to disengage. If you have to be on your cell phone, don't do it inside of the funeral home. Don't be loud and obnoxious. You can share happy stories, but other people are also grieving and working through their own healing process. Being quiet gives other people space they might need. Don't get drunk. Everyone can deal with their feelings in their own ways. Just remember to be respectful when with the grieving family or friends. Happily reminisce. Sometimes remembering happy moments and positive experiences with the deceased can be a productive part of the healing process. Give condolences. Not easy knowing what to say to someone, but even a simple "I'm thinking of you" can go a long way. Dress appropriately. What this looks like will change based on the customs of the deceased and their culture, but always dress in a way that shows respect to the deceased and their grieving family. Give a gift or sign the registration book. This can be flowers or a nice card, but it's the thought that counts here. Sometimes this can be even just cooking dinner for the grieving family. Anything that shows you care and want to help them through the healing process is what matters here. Be kind and be helpful. So let's have a look at today's tasks. There is another tab up here, and this is the Rose and Daughters Funeral Home main website. As you can see, some prices here. Direct cremation with no ceremony, $600. Wow. You want to go for the burial with an open casket ceremony and reception, that's $5,985. Expensive funerals right there. Now let's go back to our emails. Today's tasks. Hello, Charlie. Hope you settled in okay so far. Matthew should have dropped you off your first body for you to work on. He said you were really friendly, and he's glad to have someone young and lively to work with. You'll get used to his sense of humour. Your first body is Miss Garcia, an elderly woman who died suddenly of a heart attack. The family has asked for a closed casket funeral, so no embalming of the body or body preparation is necessary. The family seems a little bit more united than previous families we've dealt with. Strange how grief affects people differently. Perhaps having more time to say goodbye makes things a bit easier, if that's possible. That being said, although you will not be embalming Miss Garcia, I do not think it's important to take her time. I do think it's important to take the time to clean her body. No one is going to see her body, but I like to encourage my funeral directors to do this out of respect for the deceased and their loved ones. You'll find Miss Garcia in the prep room. Talk soon. And here's some stuff about them asking for a closed casket. No embalming. If I read all of these, I'll be here forever, but that's a summary. That's the person asking the Amy Rose, can we do these specific things that we are about to do? So, there should be... Oh, I forgot to reply to the email. That's just brilliant. I have to press this button up here. I press close. There should be a body up here. Here we go. This is where things get a little real. This is the prep room, where you prepare bodies for burials and viewings. Because the family has requested a closed casket ceremony with no embalming, you're just going to clean the body. Take the sponge and drag it over to clean it. That's it. You're done. Miss Garcia will be sent to Mike, who'll take care of dressing and putting her in the casket. It's time to go to Miss Garcia's funeral. You are responsible for taking care of the deceased's body, but it is also important to pay your respects to their loved ones. Follow the arrow and head to the funeral parlour. Quick change of clothes. Don't want to turn up in the Mortician's gown. Here's the family. She would have hated these paintings. She was so particular. Yeah, at least she doesn't have to see them, I guess. That's... yeah, I guess. Yeah, I heard the family specifically said no embalming. I thought it was mandatory, like required by law, but I guess not. Embalming weirds me out. Do those chemicals leach into the ground? It seems strange to be using a chemical that is known to cause cancer and putting it into the ground like that. Or into the sewer. That's what they must do with the leftover formaldehyde, right? Just pour it down the drain. At least embalming guarantees you won't be buried alive. Stop it, don't make me laugh right now. He has a point. Mommy, I'm hungry. Can we go now? Every child at every funeral ever. I hate wearing pantyhose. My legs are so itchy, but it's always so cold in these funeral homes. I think I might actually miss those sweaters she used to knit for me now. We usually don't small talk a lot at these things. At least that's what I was always taught. Our respects to the casket. And leave. October the 11th, 9 minutes past 10 in the morning. Start the day looking at the computer. Oh, Jennifer Valentine, our dearest friend. Okay, so let me explain this in a bit more detail. A colleague and I were discussing the tight laces liver specimen we have here at the museum. It's from a woman who died in 1907, and the liver is tapered inwards from what the doctors leading autopsy believed was too tight lacing on her corset. It's fascinating because it's kind of a controversial topic. Tight lacing was super popular, and while people associated it with fainting or hysteria, sigh, it's actually been associated with visceroptosis, which is when the organs fall to the lower part of the abdomen, right? Which is super unsettling, but can also be caused by being pregnant. So, too long didn't read. Of course, it's probably messed up some bones, but likely didn't do this kind of internal organ damage. And I'm tired of the condescension about my wardrobe that also implies I don't know what I'm doing. These are the kinds of things I specifically research, and yet am treated like I know nothing about. I'm having a day, Charlie. Oh boy, there's more. Here's the ranting email. Can I just rant for a second? I'm so tired of hearing strangers, colleagues, anybody, cough, male colleagues, cough, get on my case for wearing corsets. I wear them under my blazer and over a nice blouse, so it's not like I'm dressing inappropriately, even though dress codes are such sexist BS anyway. And like, I hate now how their misogyny gets veiled in Fork's concern. Jen, I'm just worried you're damaging your body. You know what corsets do to livers, right? Corsets don't do anything to livers. They're definitely not hurting me as much as your condescension is hurting my head. Ugh, sorry. I'm out of sorts right now. I'll send you another email in a little bit when I've cooled off. I didn't realise there was so much judgment around the wearing of corsets. I've always thought they are rather cool. Okay, this is the previous family thanking us. Hi Amy, please pass along our deepest thanks to you and your staff for the wonderful job they did with our mother's funeral. It was really lovely. Our family so rarely gets together. It was nice seeing everyone come out for such a beautiful service. My son never gets to see his family. Also, it was incredibly kind of you to let us bring our own food in, getting to share home-cooked meals, sharing stories, being there together. It meant a lot. So what I'm saying is it was nice for everyone to be there like that, together in that way, and I know how much of that was due to the work of your staff, especially your funeral director. Thank you for making this difficult time easier for all of us. The best, Mia. Here is a email from the hearse driver man. Hey there, Charlie. I was driving around the other day, talking to our clients. No, that's not what that says. Taking our clients on their last trip around town. And I was thinking, strange, I know, did I ever tell you about the first time I went to a funeral? I was a teenager, about to start university, and a friend of mine was killed. In a car accident. Totally out of the blue. Really tragic stuff. Messed me and my friends up real good. But, so the big day. We all got into our best suits and dresses and packed ourselves into a few cars. There were a lot of us, so we had at least 3 different cars full of us. Like clown cars, While we're in the procession, going to the cemetery, somebody in our car got a phone call from a friend in a different car. Turns out, some asshat driver who doesn't know to not get in the way of a procession drove through the intersection and smashed straight into our friend's car. Nobody was hurt, thank God. Can you imagine getting that call? Anyways, one of my friends in the same car as me, the one who got the phone call, hung up and just started laughing. Just laughing her ass off in that way that makes you not sure if they're really just crying or if they've gone fully off the deep end. And she laughed and then we all started giggling because, like, go figure, life is messed up sometimes, you know? There's no moral, no point to that story, I guess. I just remembered that story and wanted to tell you because we work with death all the time and I still sometimes get caught off guard by what it actually means. Oh, before you get any ideas, this has nothing to do with why I became a funeral director. That decision came totally later, and it's nothing unremarkable. Somebody has to do it, and I have a strong stomach, so why not? I'll see you in a bit, Charlie. Oh, and here's another Funerals Monthly. We all know everyone wants to be respectful of funerals. Don't talk too loudly, be kind, smile, and refrain from making inappropriate jokes, at least around the grieving family. Hey, sometimes some people do need a little bit of a pick-me-up during such hard times. Who are we to judge? And a big part of that is knowing what to wear. Roman Catholic funerals tend to lean more towards the formal black attire rule, and it works for us. Did you know this goes back to the days of the Roman Empire where people would wear black as a symbol of mourning? Black isn't universally the symbol for mourning, though. And if you're attending a funeral that's from a culture that is not your own, it's important to understand this. Some colours have different meanings, and despite your best intentions, the wrong choice could mean accidental offence. For example, in Hinduism and in Chinese cultures, white is a typical colour for funerals. For Islam, though, it is less about the colour you are wearing and more about how modestly you are dressed. Refrain from wearing any elaborate jewellery and be respectful of your behaviour. For Sikh funerals, colour of the clothing isn't as important as is dressing modestly and being able to appropriately sit cross-legged. Actually, being respectful is just the #1 rule for any funeral, no matter what, really. Remember that. And please don't hesitate to ask what is and isn't appropriate to wear. If you're attending to support a friend, family member, or partner, this day is not about you, so be sure to do whatever you can to be as respectful and supportive as possible. Even if that means not wearing what you're used to wearing at a funeral. Or even if it just means asking how you can appropriately show your respects. But let's get on to the next job. Hi Charlie, there are instructions for your next body. You did a remarkable job on the first one. The family was very happy with you. No small feat, of course. Pleasing a grieving family isn't exactly the most comfortable of jobs. Your next job is a man named Mr. Duval. An elderly gentleman. Died of old age. Nothing fancy, just a standard funeral with embalming. You can reach out to his daughter Lizzie Duval if you have any questions. She's handling her father's passing as well as can be expected. As always, don't hesitate to ask me any questions. Best. Oh, P.S. Charlie, dear, please remember to wear proper embalming gear. Formaldehyde is extremely dangerous. I know I don't need to tell you, but my maternal instincts are hard to ignore. I promise I won't mother you too much. Well, just a little. Ask Matthew. He knows. Okay, I'll get right on it. So we're all kitted up in the anti-formaldehyde gear now. And over here is our friend. Traditional burials typically require embalming, which preserves the body and prevents it from decomposing as quickly. Unless the family requests otherwise, all traditional burials will use embalming. Let's start by cleaning the body. Sponge. A razor to drag over the body to shave it. In order to break rigor mortis, you'll have to massage the body. It can drag over the body to massage it. Now this is the stuff that you just don't think about. The eyeballs deflate. The body starts decomposing. click and drag an eye cap into each socket to give it shape. To keep the eyes shut, you'll need to glue them. Click and drag the glue onto each eye to shut it. The mouth sags and hollows once the body starts decomposing. Click and drag a cotton ball into the mouth to give it shape. To keep the mouth from opening, you'll need to suture it shut. Click the needle and thread over the jaw to close it. Click and drag the lotion over the body to moisturize it. This prevents the skin from drying out. Embalming involves removing blood and replacing it with preserving chemicals. Click and drag the scalpel over the neck to make an incision. You're going to need a tube for draining the blood. Click on the tube and drag it to the neck incision. Click on the cannula and drag it into the carotid artery. This is how you'll get the preserving chemicals into the bloodstream. Now you'll connect the embalming machine to the cannula. Grab some additional tubing and drag it to the cannula. Click the button on the embalming machine to turn it on. In order to evenly distribute the chemicals, you'll have to massage them through the body. Click and drag over the body to massage it. I mean, serious attention to getting this spread out evenly. I suppose you wouldn't want part of your embalmee's body to not get it, I suppose. Right, now let's sew up that incision. Click and drag the needle and thread over to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost done. You'll need to drain the organs of any remaining fluids. Click on the trocar and then click and hold the abdomen until the liquid has been drained. How is this thing? I think the thing that makes this a lot less terrifying is the color palette is very muted. If this was hyper realistic, I think this would be incredibly uncomfortable. And you're done. Mike will take care of Mr. DeVal's makeup, as well as dressing and putting him in the casket. The color palette is different, but I think it helps show the things that happen without it being too in your face about it. Which is important, I think. Okay, let's go to his funeral. We've had a quick change of clothes, back into the black dress. There he is. Open casket. Came out of nowhere. I mean, it always sort of does, doesn't it? Yeah, 1 minute you're laughing, having fun, and then the next, poof, that person's gone. Just like, gone. Yeah, it's weird to think about for too long. Like staring at the sun. I start to feel all fuzzy when I think about it. So weird. Oh, our bodies just stop working like that. Yeah. Yeah. So strange not seeing most people wearing white. White? Yeah, I think it's different from different for different family members. I can't remember. I haven't gone to many traditional funerals, so mostly white. But, like, definitely not red, no matter what. He always wanted to take his grandkids to the park, play catch. He loved playing catch. He threw a mean curveball, that's for sure. A little kid playing games, that was me at every funeral ever. Humming to himself. Feeling incredibly out of place, not understanding at all what was going on. Or why you're there. Pay our respects. And leave. Obviously, as I've got older, the weight of funerals definitely weigh more. Did you understand exactly what they mean? It's very sad. Okay, so that's the job we need to do, which is cremation. But let's go with the thank yous first. Hi, Amy. Thank you for the wonderful evening you and your staff put together for my father's funeral. He wasn't always an easy man to get along with, but I'm glad to have seen him off in such a kind way. Thank you, Lizzie. Oh, here's Jen Love again. Meet cutes for death positive cuties. What? Charlie, I was doing some reading. I know you hate it when I try to give you dating advice, but hear me out. There's this dating site that's specifically for people working in the death industry. Okay, so maybe I'm a little worried for you. You haven't mentioned anyone since the breakup of 2014 that we will never speak of again after this moment. You're always saying how tired you get of people being scared to ask about your day, so maybe meeting somebody in the industry isn't the worst idea. Just promise me you'll consider it, okay? It's harder for me to make sure you're seeing sunlight when I'm all the way across the ocean. I know you look like a babe with pale skin and witchy gothic aesthetics are super hot right now, but vitamin D is still a good thing. Mom rant over. I'm going to try it out because turns out people get super scared off when you tell them you work in a museum filled with dead bodies. Do you know how not interesting other people find teratomas? Charlie, I didn't know we were this weird to outside people. I've been spoiled by having the best friend who is as much of a weirdo as I am. Miss you. Let's grab a bottle of wine for our next Skype date. P.S. If you sign up for Dead Meat, isn't that the best name for a death industry dating website? Tinder rules apply. You have to like me if you come across my profile or whatever. I'm not sure how it works though just yet. I think I may fall into the weird category because if I knew somebody who worked in like a funeral parlor, I'd be overly interested in everything. And if I knew somebody who worked in a museum full of dead people, oh my god, I'd be asking questions all day, every day, everything. I find this stuff fascinating. It's probably why I'm playing this game. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen. Knowledge is power. Just because it's weird doesn't mean it isn't interesting. Oh, Matthew Jeffrey to me. I don't like the look of this, not one bit. I know you've been with us for a few months, but maybe you're aware of the trouble Amy has been having. A small mom and pop shop like Rose and Daughters can't compete with the bigger guys. Anyway, don't tell Amy I sent this to you. Also, I'm starving, so I'm going to grab some fast food before taking the hearse through the car wash. 2 birds, 1 stone. And swinging back to the home. You want anything? A beef and cheddar? I'm going to take the hearse through the drive-thru, of course. It freaks people out. I love it. They get so awkward. You bastard. Oh, hi Matthew. This is embarrassing, but it seems I miscalculated some of our income and I just don't have enough to pay you this week. Would it be terribly inconvenient if I cut you a check out of next week? Or for next week instead? If you need the money urgently, please let me know. I feel terrible about this whole thing and I can cut you a check from my personal account if need be. I'm so sorry about this. I assure you it won't happen again. That's not a good sign. You ever get an email like that at work, you're in trouble. Oh, from Funerals Monthly. Let's have a go. Something interesting. Let me just have a quick drink first, because all this reading is destroying my voice. Much better. If you've been a long-time subscriber to our emails, or follow us on social media, you've no doubt heard about the misgendering that transgender people are at times subjected to during their funerals. There have been notable situations where trans women have had their wishes overruled by their families and have had their hair cut and buried under the wrong names and subjected to the wrong pronouns in their obituary announcements. We care a lot about this because we believe in treating every person with the same level of compassion, respect, and care, and this absolutely extends to pronouns and respecting the deceased wishes as per their lived experiences. The CDC's Funeral Director's Handbook on Death Registration and Fetal Death Reporting offers the fraught directive. Enter male or female based on observation. Do not abbreviate or use symbols. Use other symbols. If sex cannot be determined, other verification with mental records, inspection of the body or other sources, enter unknown. Do not leave this item blank. Leaving it up to observation obviously enters into the world of issues, since bodies can be so different, and because of ingrained bias people can draw incorrect assumptions based on their own inaccurate observations. California has passed what is known as the Respect After Death Act, which states that the death certificate must reflect the deceased's gender identity as they lived it, so a step in the right direction. People who are trans deserve the same respect in death that people who are cisgender receive. Misgendering in death takes away this respect. It can also inflict hurt and trauma on spouses and friends that survive the deceased. So what can we do as funeral directors? Listen to the people who come into your office. In America especially, some marriages may not be recognised as legal depending on the laws around same-sex marriage, but this doesn't mean you're not dealing with two people who have loved each other in the same way as another couple. Listen, learn, and always be respectful. While you have to work with the next of kin, your duty is also to ensure the deceased receives the utmost respect in their burial. If a funeral is to honour the deceased, then do that. Honour them. Valid point. Very much a valid point. I'm not entirely sure how it works in the United Kingdom, to tell you the truth. Obviously, I'm not from America, I am English, so I don't know what the laws are regarding identification after death. I always assumed it was whatever you identified as, but legally I know families can have the right to override that if you didn't leave it in a will, or something along those lines. Interesting. But we'll fit a cremation in here. Hello, Charlie. Today's funeral is for a woman who died of breast cancer. Nothing fancy, just a standard cremation. Please don't hesitate to ask me if you have any questions. I'm on it. One thing I'll say about this game is that it does not shy away from any topic. Be it cancer, be it suicide, be it anything. You are put through the situation, you become to realise that death is just death. Everyone dies. And they all have their own unique stories behind them. Before we cremate Mrs. Hall, we need to prepare her body. Mrs. Hall's family brought clothing and jewellery for her to wear. It's important to remove these before the cremation process as to not damage them. Let's start by removing Mrs. Hall's necklace. Take the necklace and place it on the purple tray. We need to be able to identify Mrs. Hall's remains after she's been cremated. Click and drag the round identification tag into the coffin. Right. Mrs. Hall is all set to be cremated now. In the UK, they do a thing where it falls through the floor, and I kind of assumed that was it being burned, but now I think about it, that might just be like going down an elevator and then they push it to a place like this where they just put them in a cremator. My knowledge of funerals, I've been to quite a few, too many in fact, and I don't really give it much thought. I've never been to an open casket funeral, or a casket funeral in general. Everyone I know is, well, knew, I suppose, had a cremation. This is the cremulator. Contrary to popular belief, cremation doesn't turn bodies into ash so much as bone fragments. Using the cremulator will break these bone fragments down into ash-like remains. Let's start by placing the urn in the cremulator. Click and drag the bone fragments and drop them in. No, this isn't really the time, but you can totally throw them. Whee! That would have been bad if I missed. Now that all the bones have been processed, click and drag the urn back onto the counter. This is something else I didn't know either. I assumed that when the temperature in the cremator was so hot that it just turned everything into ash. Incorrect. Put the necklace in the urn. Oh, I missed. And let's put the identification tag into the urn. And pop the top. All done. Amy will take the urn to the funeral parlour and present it alongside some flowers. Get a nice little dress on and let's go to the funeral. This is nice. In a weird way, she liked the rule here. Talking. You always try to keep the family together. The food is delicious. I know that's weird, but these crab cakes are perfect. Glad she was cremated and not in like an open casket or something. Saying her like that, I don't know if I could have. At least we got to say goodbye. But like that. She fought really hard. She was proud of herself. She never gave up. Not once. She would have hated this music. She never wanted her funeral to be sad. She would have wanted us smiling. She said so. Pay our respects. Then we leave. And I think on February the 14th at 10:15 in the morning, well, 14 minutes past 10, I think I will end this episode here. If you are interested in this, I thoroughly recommend you go find this. I found this on itch.io. It's been out for a long time. First time I've ever come across it. I've never seen any videos or anything like that about it. And it hits very close to home in a lot of ways. And I think it's an important experience for a lot of people to try. But thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.